Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining wherever you are today. I am Jordana Jarrett, so I am the head of brand strategy for the Webby Awards. We are the largest and the most comprehensive award for excellence on the internet. So this is our 30th anniversary. This season we're really celebrating what we're big on. So from podcasts to social campaigns to amazing creators. So I just have to give like a quick little plug. If you're working in this space, our early entry deadline is October 24th. But really on to why we're here today for the Black and Viral panel. So, so much of what we love online today and as part of culture at large is shaped by Black creativity and Black people. We, move the internet, we pioneer styles, conversations, and formats way before it really catches in the algorithm. But too often our stories and our icons don't necessarily receive the flowers that they deserve, which is why we really launched Black and Viral alongside the NAACP. So last year we launched it to really, celebrate Black creators, give them their flowers, really celebrate people who are shifting culture, but, don't necessarily always get the flowers that they have, and really have honest conversations about what's going on behind the scenes. So I'm so excited for today's panelists. They really embody all of what this program is about. So I would like to welcome to the stage Franchesca Ramsey. They are an actor, writer, public speaker, and content creator whose work really spans every medium, from her web series, MTV's Decoded way back in the day, which won multiple awards, including a Webby Award, the Larry Wilmore Show, where she worked as a writer and correspondent, the iCarly reboot, where she worked as a writer and co-producer, and now the co-host of the Let Me Fix It podcast. Welcome, Franchesca.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, thank you so much for joining. So great to have you. The next panelist I would like to welcome to the stage is Scott Evans. So he is an acclaimed TV personality, creator, and the host of the Webby Award-winning talk show, House Guest. So he invites the most influential names in culture to really hang out, play games, get really candid, as also a very talented host of Access Hollywood and Access Daily. Scott, welcome to the stage.
What I do?
So happy to have you. And then finally, my last panelist is Vanessa Mbonu. So she is the Vice President of Marketing at the NAACP, where she leads, powerful campaigns that are amplifying social justice, really protecting Black lives online. Plus, she is the creator of our Black and Viral series. So welcome, Vanessa.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have all of y'all. Again, when we're thinking about Black and Viral, I think all of you are really the epitome of what we represent, what this program represents. And so we're so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Okay, so just to start it off, Franchesca, you are OG, an expert, at the internet, any medium, from your very first viral moment. Shit white girls say to Black girls. We all remember that. Iconic.
Changed the game, as a matter of fact.
We wouldn't have so many styles on TikTok, like edutainer format. There are so many content creators, I think, that are like walking in those steps that we wouldn't have without you. You really use humor, just to start it off. You really use humor to really make sense of the world. And so I kind of want to know, like, why has that always been important to your work? But also, how do you kind of, balance making sure that the message stays present in the humor?
I mean, I think the thing that's really powerful about humor is that it can expose our lived realities in a way that feels comfortable and inviting. And oftentimes, I think because humor has such a immense power, people assume that it's easy, but the reality is it's really difficult. I have a theory about that's why so many comedic actors are fantastic dramatic actors, because it's really hard to do comedy, and not to say that it's easy to do drama, but you're tapping into a different part of your emotions. And okay, that's a whole tangent. But to your question, I genuinely accidentally figured out that this was my talent. I always knew that I was funny. I went to acting school. I went to performing arts middle and high school. I went to acting college. I've always been an impressionist and a musician, and that's always been a passion of mine. But when I made Shit White Girls Say to Black Girls, I just thought I was making a video about my personal experience. Little did I know that I had accidentally made a 2-minute dissertation about microaggressions. And that really unlocked something for me, where I started to refocus my content to talk about important issues through a comedic lens, because I saw the power in that. And it's just kind of mind blowing that on the eve of what will be 20 years that I've been making content, that I'm still able to do it. And that we are in a landscape where more people feel comfortable to talk about their identity through a comedic lens.
I love it. I love it. And, Vanessa, I feel like you're, at the forehand with an AACP. And so I'm kind of just curious who you're seeing, what kind of creators you're loving, who are also, really making content about their own experiences, but are really changing so much of how we are talking about politics and identity and all things.
Well, first, thank you for acknowledging that I'm chronically online and need to get a life. But I think that one creator that I really, really enjoy her content is Lene Vinay. I think that she really touches on so many great topics in a very approachable way. I've been at the NAACP for over 8 years. And one thing that I have seen is that the people who do this work, social justice, social impact, are so passionate about the work that we do. We're so passionate about the policies. We're so passionate about the end result. But sometimes communicating it can be a challenge because we're so in the weeds and we use all this jargon. And I appreciate anybody who could just, quite frankly, say it like it is. And I always say, does this pass my group chat test, right? So can I explain this thing in my group chat and my group of girlfriends, make sense of it? If I can't do that, then I'm not doing a good enough job at my job. And I think Lene is someone who really, 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 with her Parking Lot Pimpin' series, does an amazing job at breaking down what's happening, in society. Another person I think who does it to a certain extent, I don't know if she means to do it, is Tanika Boyd. She's a fashion and lifestyle creator, but she actually has a background in policy and politics. So it seeps through in the cultural commentary that she makes. And I love a conversation where, 1 minute we're talking about shoes and bags, which are my vices. And then we have now diverted into, the politics of why those shoes or bags are so hard to get to you. I love a, cross section like that. So those are two people that are top of mind, but there's so many people. Garrison Hayes, pretty much anyone who's been on this Black and Viral series, shameless plug, are really doing an amazing job. And I just can't wait to see more creators come to the forefront who are really talking about the issues that really matter today.
I love. And Scott, Vanessa, you said a really great point about, really being able to break things down in a way that feels, very simple and natural and organic. And I feel like, Scott, you are so good at that with every conversation that you have with people who come on to House Guest. It doesn't matter what you are talking about. It's I don't know. I just feel like it's such a testament to your ability to connect with people, but also such a testament to the care and the revere that you really have for Black stories and people. And so, I was just kind of wondering if you could talk a little bit about the role that connection really plays in your life, both online and off, and how you've been called to do this.
Yeah, thank you first for even acknowledging that. It is sincerely one of a core intention that I have with every project, with every interview, with every interaction, is that I am paying attention, that I am in this moment, right? But I think also it is my ability to be my confidence or freedom to be as much myself as possible has come from the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and more hours, and then a few more hours of repetition, of honing this skill, you know what I mean, of being able to sit in an interaction with a person and within a matter of moments figure out, okay, what mood are they in? What energy are they getting? What can I infuse into this interaction that will pull them forward a little bit? What might I have to offer in order to get them to see that this is a mutual space. This is not a place I'm asking you to come give. I'm also giving as well. And I want you to be comfortable and tend to take care of what is shared in this space, right? I think that the idea of connection is also, I think, one of the reasons that I think the content that we are creating with authentic space, with authentic interaction is winning, because we see so much of the fake out there and are not being satiated by that we're like empty at the end of it, right? That we're like, okay, so now I got a little bit of information, but I got a whole bunch of mess in the process as well. Or I got no information and all mess. And now I'm feeling like I need to go take a shower. You know what I mean? And so the idea that authentic interaction, truth, and research and skill can win, I think is also just like the reality that while the medium might have moved or the attention might have moved from broadcast, the things that win are the things that win. You know what I mean? And while the landscape has widened, has broadened incredibly over the last few years and will continue to, I think the things that win are going to continue to be the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and continue to be the things that resonate with you, is that you see you in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
can I tag on to something that
I was going to ask you because I saw you nodding. Yeah.
Scott. Thank you so much for talking about the hours and hours you put into your work.
Yeah.
This is something that I cannot stress enough when I hear from new creators or even creators who are in like the first or second year of their journey, which, not to discredit that, you put 2 years in, but oftentimes people want instantaneous results, no matter what field they're in, but especially as content creators, because you're watching other people's success is so tied to numbers. Mm-hmm. And so many people are like, well, I made this video and I worked this hard on it and it didn't get any views and blah, 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 blah. And to Scott's point, you got to put in hours and hours and hours and hours. And you're often comparing your beginning to somebody else's end or somebody else's middle. And especially in a space where, to Scott's point, honesty, truth, research, all of those things are helping create a finished product. That takes time. Honing your voice takes time. And I'm going to try so hard not to get on my AI soapbox, but when people want to skip the work of finding your voice and making mistakes and pivoting and doing all those things by using artificial intelligence, they are discrediting their own ability to figure out who they are. And sometimes, most of the time, the mistakes are what are going to help you figure out your voice. And sometimes something will go wrong and you're like, wait a second, I love that, but you don't get that experience at the beginning. That happens years into the process, right. And it's a lot of trial and error.
That's such a good point. I wanted to ask you all about kind of being, well-rounded and the hours that you've put in, but kind of thinking about maybe like early mistakes as you were putting in those hours, like what are some of the things that you've learned? I get this is for all of you. What are some of the things that you've learned, Scott, as a broadcast journalist early in your career, Francesca, when you were working on web content, to then working, for digital, Vanessa, as part of your work as well? Like, what are some of those early things that you really had to work through that are now really informing your work today?
Trusting my gut.
Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say, to keep it really simple, trusting my gut. Like I had to, but I also had to, working in a traditional big three network television, primetime television show. I couldn't walk into that place without a lot of demonstrated success and say, well, no, I feel like we should be asking this question, or I'm not going to ask that question. I'm not going to go there. I think this is the more fruitful endeavor or line of questioning. I had to earn that, right? So I had to navigate what it meant to be handed research and a direction for an interview, and how to bring what I know and trust and understand they want. How do I get what I need and what across? You know what I mean? The thing that is important to me. How do I get them what they need while getting what I need, right? And so I had to learn how to deliver, but I also had to, in that process, I was able to more readily or wholeheartedly trust my gut. Like there are a lot of things early in my career, especially at Access Hollywood, we would ask questions that was like, this is not, don't nobody want to know. Ain't nobody gonna, what? I am not gonna ask this woman who lived in the Playboy Mansion what it was like to sleep with Hugh Hefner. I don't know this lady. I'm not asking her about her sex life. I guess she wrote a book. She don't even talk about it in the book. You know what I mean? And so instead of trusting my gut, I tried to ask the question, and she looked at me like, "What? Are you gonna ask me on national television?" And I was like, "No, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm not gonna ask you that question. There are people who are curious about it. You can tell them if you know what I mean." And I had to have a conversation with my executive producer afterward and say, I went with my gut. And if that is not good here, if that doesn't work here, then I'm sorry we're not in alignment, but it was my face and her face let me know it wasn't it. But I also, failed early on as well. Live television. I remember I did a live talk back to Washington, D.C. after Anton Yelchin had passed away. He was crushed by his SUV in his driveway. Hours after he had been taken to the hospital and pronounced dead, I was on the scene in his driveway and talking to Washington, D.C. about what I was seeing, what we knew, and what we learned. And I was unsupported in the live hit. There was no producer, there was no writing, there was no prompting, there was no nothing. And none of us on this show have ever do press that way. We never do a affiliate hit that way. But it was a test to see how I would handle no resource. And what I learned in that process is you have to be able to summon everything you have. And if you don't have a plan, it don't matter. Everybody else's plan doesn't matter. You got to have a plan. You have to have a plan. And so those are things that I learned early on in my career.
Yeah. Friend?
Wow. I mean, I agree with so many of those things about trusting your gut. So I won't reiterate that, but I agree with that one as well. Something that I started doing early in my career and later on I've realized that it's been the thing that's helped me is reassessing what's working and what's not working, and then using that to decide how you move forward. And that works across every field, not just in the arts, not just in content creation, but especially as a creator and as a writer and as a performer. I mean, look, Shit White Girls Say is a perfect example. I started my content career making hairstyle videos, and that's what I was doing. And, the girls out here don't know I was a pioneer, but the Natural Girls were not on YouTube before I was here. Okay. But
when I tell you that you taught me how to reattach one of my locks, real talk, real talk. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Not gonna
I have many sons. I'm a child-free lady with children all over the world, okay? But I say that to say that I started doing hair stuff, and then when I had a video that did well in the comedic space, I was like, wait a second. I have been doing a bunch of different stuff. The Leopard song is one of my biggest viral songs. I had made like 5 different songs before that hadn't done as well. But when I saw something that was working, I was like, why is this working? And so I often see people say, oh, I've been doing videos for this long and it's not working. And then I go to their page and I'm like, you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. If it's not working, you need to do something different. And then when something does work, I don't care if you get 1,000 views and you usually get 10, or you get 1 million views and you usually get 50. Why did that thing work, and how can we replicate that? And I would argue that goes for relationships, for, romantic, platonic, professional relationships, where if something's not working, it's easy to say, well, it's not working because the algorithm, I'm shadow banned, or maybe you need to look at what you've put into this. And if it's not working, how can you change, and how can you adapt? And I think, especially when we talk about longevity, again, in any industry, you have to be willing to adapt, whether that's a new platform, new technology, new collaborators, new language. And I think I in the past had the challenge of like, oh, jack of all trades, master of none. But in reality, I can do a lot of things, and thank God I can, because when, the Writers Guild went on strike, I was like, well, I'm going to host this podcast. When, TikTok might go away, I was like, well, thank God I sold a pilot. Like, I've just always been like, all right, what else can I do? And I think more creative people need to be okay with acknowledging sometimes you're going to have to make a change. Sometimes things not working and you're going to have to do something different through no fault of your own, but being willing to adapt is going to save you in the long run.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I can touch on that from a kind of like corporate lens as well, is that I think society as a whole is obsessed with the final product and is not interested in any way, shape, or form in the journey. And I think that's why we're finding ourselves in this sticky DEI situation that we're in, right? It's because everyone woke up this year and was like, I reached DEI. No, sir, you didn't. That's not how it works. Like, you can never reach diversity. You can never reach equity and inclusion. Like, you have to continuously work at it. And I think something that Scott said is so important, because I have a background as a journalist as well. I also come from a West African family. And so no is something that I heard a lot. It doesn't faze me anymore. And I think so many people are just scared of rejection and scared of hearing no, when honestly, you should be scared of hearing yes, because that means you actually got to go do the thing.
Now you got
That's hard. That's hard. If someone gives you money to do something, you have to pull through, like you have to deliver. And that is very hard. And so if you paid attention to the journey, and if you paid attention to the people who are doing the thing, who've done the thing before you, and when they're saying things like this, like, you might learn a little something that really grinds my gears when I hear it, is the feedback that people often, younger people give when they go to conferences that are supposed to help them with either content creation or tech or whatever it is that they're trying to do. And they come back and they say, well, I feel like I wasted my money, or I didn't hear what I wanted to hear, or it was surface level. And I'm like, that's what you took from it, but you did yourself a disservice, because you might be an aspiring software engineer, aspiring content creator, aspiring whatever, but you're something today. And so if you went and whatever was said on the main stage panel didn't appeal to you, you are in a room with like 1,500, 2,000 other people that are something today. And so how are you working on being a better whatever it is that you are today? Because that's going to help you get to the next step. And so whether you're a content creator, a journalist, 9 to 5, or whatever it is, like, you should always try and get the best experience from what you're doing. And it's never going to happen that someone is going to come to you and just hand it to you on a silver platter. Like, you have to take what you can get, and you have to be prepared to eventually hear that yes, it'll come. It might not come in the 2 years or the 5 years or the 10 years, but the point of listening twice as much as you speak, and I'm a certified yapper, I got it. But the best thing that I've ever done in my career was just shut up and listen to other people. And that's when I learned that, oh, well, when this person says XYZ, like, they actually mean this other thing. And when my boss says, no, 3 no's means we're going somewhere. 1 no is absolutely not. Go back to the drawing board. Like, things like that, when you pick up on them, you become a better person at whatever you're doing. And you might find that, maybe you don't want to be a content creator, maybe you want to be more behind the scenes, but you would have never known that if you were so focused on, living that lifestyle or getting to that end point. You have robbed yourself of the experience of finding other things that you might be good at, or getting your money's worth, or whatever it is. And so that's one thing that I would tell everybody is, like, enjoy every single part of the journey and make sure you take something away from every single part of the journey, because you're going to reach that end point and you're going to be like,
that's it.
Well, Vanessa, something that you said in there that reminded me of a quote from Issa Rae, who, is very quotable. And if she says it, write it down. But she was on a panel or speaking somewhere, and she said, network across. And that's kind of the thing I heard in you talking about. People go to these panels, and especially in the content creator space, back in my day, we were all collaborating.
Right.
Now everybody is solo on their couch or in their car. Why is everyone in their car? And they don't work with other people. And it's like a high tide raises all boats. There's so much competitiveness. And I think especially for Black people, we should be working together. And that does not mean that you just, lower yourself to work with anybody. But if there's somebody who has a skill that you don't have, and you have a skill that you can bring to the table, you guys should be working together. And, Vanessa, to your point about people going to these workshops and conferences and saying I didn't get anything out of it, oftentimes people are expecting the celebrity on stage to give them some insight that's going to help their career. And to your point, there are people in that room that 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you don't know where they're going to be. And Scott and I can probably tell you so many people that we came up with, and people say, oh my God, you were hanging out with Issa Rae? Yeah, because we both started making YouTube videos around the same time and we became friends and then we worked together. So it's not to say that you should be working with people in hopes of like, oh, I hope this person becomes famous and successful so I can ride their coattails. But like, if I'm winning, if you're winning, I'm winning too, and vice versa. And I think too many people, especially because we live in a white supremacist society that says there can only be one, too many Black people are acting like it's Highlander out here, and it's not the case. Like all of us, many of us can win. There doesn't have to be just one of us. We can win together.
Yes. I also, to piggyback on that, and I think what will help aid in the success of people who are seeking to network period, to collaborate, instead of only looking at, okay, what do you need in order to be successful? What do you want in order to be successful? It's also, what do I do so well? What can I offer? Because I think that once you shift your perspective from what do I want, what do I need, and you shift that to what do I have, what am I developing, what have I perfected, you will find it will be drawn to you. I know that sounds crazy as hell, but when you shift your perspective from the thing you don't have and the thing that you still need to what you are developing, what you're building, what you've perfected, you will find ways to plug those things in. You will be paying attention to ways to plug those things in, to further them, and it pays back dividends. The idea that you go to a conference, or you are on an online panel, or you are on a Slack group and you're not getting anything out of it. Have you become really clear, like super crystal clear about what it is you even want to get out of it? Right? Have you sat with yourself with some time before you got to that conference or after day one and said, okay, so here are the things that this conference is about. What pillars can I be like, this is what I want to leave with. This is what I want to experience. This is what how I want to show my expertise in these spaces. If you haven't had those conversations with you, you're actually not even, I would venture to say, you're probably not ever going to get really what you want out of those experiences, because it's not clear to you what you want out of experiences beyond getting to Issa, getting to Larry, getting to Francesca. Do you know what I mean? So I think the idea that clarity, being able to get to your place of clarity, which means knowing what you want, but also more importantly, knowing what you offer. I think we're going to be doing a hamster. What's it? The hamster wheel. Be clear about that.
Yeah.
I love that. Speaking of just being, clear about what you want, I think, which is also kind of interesting in the content creation space, like even if you are clear about your intention, clear about the message that you want to put out, sometimes the internet does its own thing, right? So I think what's really interesting is, Scott, on our prep call, you kind of said that you wanted to launch like a video series with house guests, but because you put it on YouTube, it automatically became a podcast, and that's how people are consuming it, that's just the way that the internet is working now, right? So I'm curious, both Scott and Francesca, like, does it matter to you how people consume or experience your work? Like, how do you navigate that? And like, if sometimes your intention for something and the way that it lives online or breathes online can be out of alignment. So how do you kind of mitigate that or navigate it?
Yeah, it's so interesting because when TikTok was really popping off during the pandemic, I was so resistant. I was like, I don't need to join another social app. Video on your phone, not me. Like I was such a snooty, like
My
I
camera just did that. My spirit must
yes.
be in agreement. Let me tell you how my soul was saying yes, but I was
Yes.
trying not to.
I
Yeah.
just was like, couldn't be me. I will never make videos on my phone. And now here I am, somebody that like really enjoys TikTok. And so for me, like I'm all about like the platforms are great, but if you have a great message and you're clear on your vision, it's going to connect with people in the way that it's supposed to. Um, and I think that you just have to be in terms of, you can't control what the internet is going to do. I always tell people you just have to focus on doing what you know is to be right. And if I can stand 10 toes down in the content that I'm creating, then whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But I will also add to that, there's nothing wrong with admitting when you get something wrong or you make a mistake. We are all human. And I'm of the mind that if more people were willing to acknowledge when they got something wrong, in my experience, because I have made mistakes, people, for the most part, if you're really honest and say, like, hey, I did screw up, I'm going to try to be better, people will move on. It's when you double down and you say that, you didn't get it wrong and everybody is a hater and anyone who said something about you is poor. It's like, what does my money have to do? Like, you just got this thing wrong.
You're dead ass wrong though.
Suddenly it's like, you're ugly and you ain't got no, it's like, just, you said a slur. Like, just don't say the slur anymore. So yeah, write it out. Right. So, I think you can't control how things, how the internet perceives or embraces or chooses not to embrace things. But kind of what Scott was saying, just to reiterate, when you are clear on who you are and what your values are, what strangers on the internet say about you, and this is also in the workplace or your family, oh, you got a little friend, oh, you got a little job. Like when they say those things, if you know who you are, it's like, okay, well, that's how you feel. I really like what I'm doing. I really like the work that I'm making. And I think the internet of it all, the reality is a lot of people go to the internet for validation that they are lacking in their real lives. And that's when your feelings really get hurt. And so
And they will get hurt.
Oh, they'll humble you real quick.
Your friends and family, they will do it real quick. You know what I mean? I cannot agree with you more about the understanding of being clear about and feeling good about what the work that you do and putting it out because you feel good about it, not because you need someone to say that was really good or that was really funny or that was really hot or poignant or whatever. I think the idea also that it should be happening immediately, the response that you desire should be happening immediately. If you're not willing to put in hours and hours and hours with no one noticing, then you may want to rethink what it is you really want to be doing, because it may take years of posting before it really clicks, or before, and really what's happening there is not that it's not clicking, is that you are perfecting and honing in on your voice and what you mean to be saying and how you say it. You are gradually getting better and better. Not that it's taking a whole lot of time for people to notice, but that you are it is better to be failing in private with fewer eyes than to be going viral regularly for the wrong things. Like I don't know that anyone necessarily, there are some, I suppose, most people necessarily don't want that to be their outcome. I think as far as putting the thing out, and then, we wanted to develop a television show. We wanted to develop, and honestly, if I'm gonna be really real, I don't know if I've ever said this before, but House Guest happened because I wanted to practice what it would be to host a late night show. House Guest happened because I wanted to.
You heard it here first.
Wow.
Breaking news.
Book it. Let's book it.
I wanted to know what does it feel like to host your own show? What would your own show look like, Scott? And it was less about what people care about it and more about like, How would you move through a monologue? Is that important to you in this format? How would you shift the idea of daytime and nighttime? How do you practice, right? How do you get your hours up? And was initially failing with nobody watching. And then we put it on YouTube and it was like people immediately started watching. And I was like, oh, there goes the opportunity to fail without, with low views, right? But what I was also surprised by is that people's adoption of this thing was like, we want to see you in the raw. We want to see you in the unperfected, not super slick. We want to see you totally yourself. And while I was comfortable with that, I didn't know that's necessarily what the audience was wanting. And so the reality is when you publish work outside of a book, like an actual book, you are going to be able to refine that as you go. You know, even with a book, there are re-edits and opportunities to republish. But I think that the idea that it's yours, it's only yours, and it has to be dealt with only the way that you see, you have to be willing to release that, especially in a digital age, because it's just not going to be. Even artists, recording artists and performing artists, they are realizing that the work that they put out is going to be taken a different way. Francesca, when I tell you the video that you did about Jennifer Lopez and being able to have an experience in life with the kind of confidence that you can't tell me I didn't kill that note. It's dead flat on the floor, but you can't tell me it wasn't beautiful.
Yes.
It wasn't the hardest working note in the room.
It's so real. Like a level of Delulu is necessary. And I will never forget, I went to South by Southwest. I think it was, 2018, maybe 2018. And I met this creator who, candidly, I didn't see it for. I didn't get it. I was like, why is she so popular? I was like, I'm funnier than her. Like, she's whatever. And I met her at a party and she was so nice because of course she was. And I was like, ugh. And I started talking to her and I was like, I'm just curious, like, what's your process? I just was so curious. And she just said, you know what? I put up a video, I post it and I move on. And I was stopped in my tracks because the realization was that I would labor over things to such a degree that suddenly it would be like, oh, I made this thing. I spent a month ruminating on it and then I didn't post it and I kept noodling with it and trying to get it perfect. And in that amount of time, the girl that I was looking at like, ugh, she's not that great, was just like, bam, 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 just getting those hours, just like pounding the pavement, trying new things.
Yep.
It was a really humbling moment for me because I realized I had been writing a narrative about somebody that I didn't know who was doing the thing I wanted to do instead of actually doing my own work. I was wasting valuable time thinking about what this person was doing who didn't even know I existed. Meanwhile, here I am at a party and she's giving me advice. So that worked. I'm telling you, as long as I live and breathe, I put that into action after I met her. And it was like, bam, 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 like all these things started happening for me. And I tell that story all the time because when I was in acting school, I had a teacher who said to me, when you're watching a movie, the character that you're usually the most critical of is the one you wish you could play. And I opened my eyes and I see it all the time. So yes, I can make, a tongue-in-cheek joke about J-Lo's musical skills, but I also cannot deny that she works her ass off. And I would love to have a career like hers. And what can I learn from her? She is in that gym. She is reading scripts. She is going to auditions. She's doing those dances. And it doesn't matter what I think about her. She is a success because she has defined success for herself. And so that is what I think, again, especially Black folks who often are not seen as valued until some white person says that you're valuable or until a white person rips you off. You have to decide, what does success look like for myself and put that work in and not need the external validation to tell you that you're successful. No, baby, I'm successful. I don't care how you feel about it. I know the work that I put in and I'm getting the results for myself.
I love it.
also want to
Yeah.
add to that just real quick. I
Go ahead,
promise.
go ahead.
Super fast. I was watching an interview yesterday with a friend of mine, Kevin Fredericks, known online as Kev on Stage, where he talked about the fact that he puts out 588 videos a month, and that he puts out 3 a day across 6 or 7 platforms, and that the idea is not that any of them are perfect, but that he understands that there's a cross section of how these platforms publish, and that I'm going to only get a section of my audience each time I post anyway. He said that his formula was, if I've got 3 funny things I can say about this thing, I do the video. I don't wait, I don't plan it, I do the video, which is why you see him at the gym, in the car, at the grocery store, at the movies, you know what I mean? And he's posting these, recording this content. It let me know really clearly that like perfection is not what we are seeking.
Mm-hmm.
Perfection is something that you achieve through the process of doing over and over and over and over for a period of time. When you look back, you realize that was the perfect journey. It's not one video. It's not one viral moment. It's not one comment. It's constant, concerted effort. And so if there's anything that can be taken from, I think that this segment is that, like, do the thing and practice the thing, put the thing out and move on and do more of the things, and pay attention to how you feel and what you have put, and not necessarily what the response is, but what the impact is, and be able to pivot based on that when necessary.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect segue, because I wanted to get more into advice that everyone could share for, all of the watchers. Some people are aspiring creators. I'm sure others are, 2, 3, 5 years in the game. So, all of your careers are definitely, embodiments of what it means to build longevity. And so I'm just kind of wondering, what other advice would you have to folks who are, looking to stay the course? Vanessa, I'm going to come to you. It could be, not just creation, but.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts. So I think that from this conversation that we're having, right? And I want to say thank you all so much for being so honest and open and vulnerable. I think that the number one thing I will say is that people, even the audience themselves, don't always know what they want. And so you have to be open to trying and pivoting, right? And stay true to yourself. Yeah, but I know you got to get paid. So like, be open to trying new things. I think as a society, we say that we don't like labels and we don't want to be put in the box, but don't you dare mislabel somebody or put them in the box that they don't want to be in, because then it's like World War III. And we go through this at the Image Awards, and I'm sure the Webbies as well, where we're like, oh, there needs to be like some sort of recognition for influencers, content creators, because we're really seeing media kind of go in this direction, and the creator economy is expanding, and there's no real kind of way to recognize them for the impact that they're making. And so we come up with these creator and influencer awards, and then they kind of get taken up by people who are doing other things like comedians and actors. And you're coming to see that even Scott, like, are you a podcaster? Are you a journalist? Like, what are you? You getting paid. That's the good part. But the point is, you're still getting like your message out there. And so my advice would be, don't be so focused on a title or a career or a word. Like, figure out what it is that you're actually trying to do. Are you trying to, spread more awareness about something? Are you just trying to be funny? Are you trying to be seen? Are you trying to be heard? And work towards that. And the sort of the catalyst for starting Black and Viral was like, I didn't see enough Black people in general, whether they were creators, content influencers, entrepreneurs, whatever. It's like Black people are just funny, and Black people have just always been creating and moving, campaigns online. Sometimes we didn't even care. And I always think to myself, like, Tiffany New York Pollard is like one of like the main people that I think about when I think about being Black and viral. I'm like, what if New York just stuck on being with Flavor Flav? Like, what if that was her main goal in life, was just to get Flavor Flav's attention?
I'm still in the motherfucking house.
Not be the reality, mega cultural, influential superstar that she is. And so I think of my career in that way. Is like, what if I just got stuck on, wanting to be a publicist or whatever it is?
Mhm.
I would not be where I am today if I just kept pursuing that one goal. But I knew that ultimately I wanted to be a storyteller. I didn't really, at some point I gave up what shape that came in, and I didn't, and then
yes,
it pivoted
Laura.
to like, you know what, I actually want to
Surrender.
tell other people's stories. I ran out of stories to tell. So I'm just gonna amplify other people's stories.
Yes, yeah.
And it's just been such a beautiful journey what comes from that. So I would impart that into anyone in any field, is like, don't be the person that puts yourself in a box. Like, explore. There's so much more out there. Explore, and divorce yourself from this idea of a linear career. Like, it's not working for anybody.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Where is the line? Where is linear? Where is the line?
Oh, I loved so many of the things that you said in there. I want to piggyback on that thought, because I always bring up Issa Rae as an example. I've now said her name twice. But when she stopped doing Awkward Black Girl, people were so pissed. They were like, "Where is Awkward Black Girl? How dare you?" And I remember when she announced the title of Insecure, because HBO's development is notoriously lengthy. She was in development for like 7 years. I remember people being like, "I hate this title. What is this? And then it came out and everyone loved it. So to your point about like, you have to do what you want to do. Quinta Brunson is another one. When she left BuzzFeed, people were like, "I can't believe she's leaving BuzzFeed." When she left Black Lady Scout Show, why is she leaving Black Lady Scout? Because she's going to give you like the best sitcom that we've had in the past like 10 years. If you are beholden to what the audience tells you to do, what your parents tell you to do, what your classmates tell you to do, if you're listening to what everybody else is doing, you might miss out on the thing that you were really meant to do. So Vanessa, yes, exactly. I'm going to reiterate a thing that Scott said that I believe wholeheartedly is you have to be generous with your knowledge and with your talents. You should pour back into people. That is a secret that I have learned. And again, I don't do it because I want credit. I just love seeing other people win. And when you are generous with your talent, with your time, your knowledge, it does come back to you. Now, to be fair, I'm not telling you work for free. Okay. Right. Like, you should be compensated for your time. But if somebody says, "Oh, I'm looking for a da 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 da," you know what? I know somebody. Let me send an email. Something I'm really good for is if I have to turn down a job opportunity, I always say, "Are you open to me recommending some people?" I love to slide up in the DM and say, "Guess what? I got a job for you.
Yes.
I got some money for you." I got some money. Like, if somebody is coming to me with a project and I could do it by myself, but I know that I have a friend who's a great writer or a comedian who's really good at punch up, I'm going to say, "Is there any room in the budget to just like give me 2 extra people?" And it always will come back to you. It might not be in a year, it might not be in 6 months. Sometimes it's like 3 or 4 years down the line where somebody says, "I know the right person for that job. It's Scott. We worked together 10 years ago." And I can't tell you, I had somebody recently who offered to give me some merch advice, because I launched merch, and I had a sit down with her, and she said, 7 years ago, I spoke on a panel and you came up to me and you said, 'You were so good. I hope that you keep hosting. You really have a talent.'" And I was like, "I don't remember, but that sounds like me." That sounds like something I would do. And she was like, "It really spoke life to me." And so that is why I'm happy to spend 2 hours giving you advice. And this was something that happened 7 years ago. I don't remember saying this to her. It always comes back to you. So don't be stingy with your knowledge. If you see something in somebody, like, nurture it, because you never know where it's going to lead them and how it's going to help all of us, but it will also come back to you.
Yeah, I'm going to come to you, Scott, before we open it up for questions.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is like one. Thank you. This is like such a good. I didn't have access to these things when I was starting my career. I'm not saying that they didn't exist, but I didn't have. I wasn't in rooms where people were giving this kind of insight into their careers, into the wins, the pitfalls. Everybody was still kind of stunting And it was like,
Mhm.
watch me, you know what I mean? Watch me. Yeah, I know. You know what I mean? It wasn't really like, okay, share. How do we share? We had to create those spaces oftentimes. So thank you for even putting this together. Truly, I feel like it's a game-changing kind of experience. I hope for people who are watching and involved. I will also say that I learned from a pretty pivotal point in my career that like my creativity, the thing that I wanted to do, the thing that I wanted to make, didn't owe me the return of paying my bills. Certainly not like at first, right? That like my video content, my own publishing content didn't owe me my mortgage, didn't owe me my car payment. Like it just needed to be created. Right. And so the idea of, I'm launching this podcast and I need 5 brands to pay for it off top, and you've never done a podcast before, or you've only done one other podcast before, can sometimes stifle the process of like just creating the work that you mean to create. So I would say, one of the first things that I did that really helped me get clear on that idea, I read Elizabeth Gilbert's Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic. And it was Elizabeth Gilbert also wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
Pray, Love.
Yeah, right. She talked about the process of, before writing Eat, Pray, Love, sending manuscripts out to publishers and getting a whole bunch of no's, like a whole bunch of no's. Instead of internalizing that no as like, your work is shit, no one cares about you, and you're never going to be anything, she used that as a game. So when I got one no, I sent another one out. Right. It was a signal to like keep on to shift the energy. Right. So I would say use no as fuel, not as a signal that you aren't worth anything. I think also the idea that you should be, because you have these ideas to create, this content to create, that you must then also, all of your time must be consumed by it. So you must quit your job in order to do that. You must quit your day job or the thing that is allowing you to pay your bills in order to do that. Baby, in this economy, that is not advice.
No,
it's about finding the ways, the pockets of time, creating the pockets of time, maybe getting up early, staying up a little bit later, not going to certain other things so that you can create the thing that you mean to create and also pay your bills. With the kinds of the current state of things, as people are losing their jobs, whole departments are going away in failed swoops in one meeting. Like, we don't really have that. We need you to be funded. And we need you to be publishing, not one or the other. Do you know what I mean? So I would say find ways to create while you are at the job. Is it content that you can create where you can do it at work? I mean, I don't know.
Don't get fired, guys.
Yeah.
I have seen so many people live streaming at work, and then the next video is, hey guys, so I lost my job. Do it after work hours, please.
I'm just saying, if you a dental assistant, you know what I mean? You probably shouldn't be like, okay.
Yeah.
While they in the chair, you know, watch me whip it, nay.
But Scott, I have literally seen that video.
Yes, I have liked and shared that content. I'll be honest with you. So like, I can't hold you on that. I'm just saying it's probably not the best advice.
Yeah.
But I also, and I will leave you with this. But I also think that that sometimes these things can feel very contradictory, that we can be saying one thing in one breath and another thing in another breath. And I know that sometimes it's like, well, what the fuck? You just said do the thing and spend hours and hours and hours, but then you said, but don't quit your job. And like, I get that. At the end of the day, you have to be so in tune with who and what you are and what you mean to be creating, that you're able to pull from these experiences what you need that pushes you another week, that pushes you another project, that pushes you forward another little bit. And that hopefully your community, even if it's one other person, is it built in such a way that it reflects to you the things that you need when you need them, and is a soft place or a safe place for you to land when you need it, so that you can keep doing the thing that you mean to be doing, regardless of what some of the advice can be sometimes.
Yeah.
I love this. I'm hearing be generous with your knowledge, have clarity. Clarity has come up so much. Clarity of intention with your time. Wow, I've just been getting so many nuggets, but I'm sure.
Your day job.
Don't quit
your night job. Keep all the jobs you can keep.
And also don't expect the thing that you're putting out, the thing that you're loving to give you something in return. Do it because you love it.
Because you love it.
I love it. Yeah. We probably have time for one question for all of you, I think, because we're at 1:55. So let's see one audience question that everyone can answer. Okay, so how do you navigate? All squinting. How do you navigate declining projects that don't align with your values and staying paid? What do you do in between projects? I love this.
This is a great question. I mean, this goes back to the clarity thing. When we talked about saying yes, something I talk about a lot is the value in saying no, and that it's worse to say yes to the wrong thing than it is to say no to the right thing. That's just my personal philosophy. And so for me, I've always been somebody that has kept multiple plates in the air. And so while it is difficult to say no to things, especially when there's a hefty paycheck attached, I always keep myself in a position where I have other opportunities. And I always tell creative folks, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Similarly to what Scott said, I kept a day job for many years while I was creating content. And even now, I hope the platforms that I enjoy don't go away, but like, I'll be okay. Like, I always keep multiple jobs. And also just keeping the belief that that you are in a space of abundance, and that if you say no to something, it's because it's making room for the right thing to come along. And again, if it doesn't align with your values and you say yes, I'm thinking about the Riyadh Comedy Festival. There are a lot of comedians that said yes to that and have been getting lit up all over social media. And it's like, well, the check might have been worth it in the short term, but in the long term, you have damaged the relationship and the trust that you've built with your audience. And to me, that is more valuable than any check. I've been able to work this long because if I do something, I want my audience to know that feels like Francesca. That feels like something that I know she would do. Or, and the other thing I always say is like, would I feel comfortable telling my mom that I did this? That's my gut check. I'm like, hey, mom, I was busting it wide open. I got like $50. Like, I would not be able to do that. My mom would look at me crazy. So I have to say, would my mom be okay with this? And if not, I'm going to have to say no.
Yeah. And I think
that's if you got a great relationship with your mama.
Fair. That's not everybody's measure. That's,
right.
Not every parent is cool.
Right.
That is good though, because I always say if I have to explain this thing to my mom, my boss, or my partner, I don't even think it's worth it. But I will say from a practical approach, I think whatever industry you're in, it's good to know how to do other things. And so if you're primarily an actress, for example, it might be good to learn production. It might be good to learn distribution so that if, you find yourself in between projects, you're not too far away from what you love doing and your main craft, that you can always kind of like bounce back, right? Like the gig economy is great. And, people are doing a lot of self-funded projects, but we need money. We need to get paid. And so it's good to have multiple skills. And if it's too hard for you to have multiple streams of income, at least try and learn how to do other things in the industry that you're primarily in, because everyone wants to be in front of the camera, in front of the scenes, but there's tons and tons of room for people like at all different, stages of it. So that's what I try to do, at least, is like, I'm in marketing, but like I could do PR, I could do video editing, or do branding, just in case, because I like things and I like to have money.
That part. Don't want to be starving. I'm starving artist thing. It's not for me. I just want you to know, like, it's not a life that I wanted to have. And so I've always kept a job. And the idea is that the jobs that I keep are in alignment with the places that I want to be going. And so I'm going to do my very best to not work at the, the sandwich shop if I want to be a
late night TV host.
Right.
Exactly. Or I'm going to make my working at a sandwich shop the career prep for my, you know what I mean? When you come into the sandwich shop, I got a monologue for you. I'm gonna be the annoying dude at the sandwich shop to everybody, so they can get this dude on TV, please. But I also will say, one, Zindi, great question, because I think that it's the in between time that really many of us, I would say all of us, struggle with, especially at the beginning, because it's like, okay, well, when is the next one going to come in? Or I'm working on these other projects, but I can't really get them to go without the funding from some of these other things. I think that some of the time that between the bigger projects or the bigger checks, I spend in personal development or self-care, like extreme self-care, because what can happen sometimes is like when it rains, it pours. So you get 4 or 5 big things at one time, and that's for 2 months. And then you take a whole bunch of months, whole bunch of weeks where nothing really comes in. And so instead of stressing about that, I'm thankful for that opportunity to recenter, to reconnect with friends and family, to work on some personal development as well as professional development. And then that time off, or those time between projects, doesn't really feel like time between projects. It feels like time well spent. I'll say that. But I think declining projects, Tabitha Brown said something to me a couple months ago where she said, no, I'm not going to promote anything that I don't actually use. I'm not going to partner in any ways with products, services, brands that I don't actually use. You will never see me selling you something or representing something that I don't think is the bee's knees, I think is what she said, because, it's her business. But, so the idea that the declining things don't feel like missing an opportunity, it feels like further refining your purpose, your direction, you know what I mean? And it will sometimes help with, okay, that check ain't really worth derailing my purpose. So keep it moving.
Yeah.
Love. Oh my goodness. We're at time, but I could have asked you all questions all day long. But I just want to say thank you so much, Francesca, Scott, Vanessa, for joining for Black and Viral, and also again for being just so generous with your time and your knowledge. There's a reason why you all are so popular online, doing the great work online, having such great audiences online, and yeah, it's just a testament to who you are as people. But yeah, so I just want to say also thank you NAACP for also just always being great partners. And yeah, Webby Award winning creators, we love to support you, and thank you so much. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
Go be Black.